Hey, peace, world. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind Morning Wood. A little bit of bite down boxing coming, but I do have some entertainment notes. Man, out of nowhere, and I like how they did it. Somebody called out online in one of the forums that I was reading about the project. Back in the day, when physical copies of music, CDs, albums, cassettes, and all of that. When the new content or the new material, new projects used to drop, they used to come out on Tuesday, and today or 12 a.m. last night or this morning, one of my favorite groups, Little Brother, dropped an album out of nowhere. I just started seeing talk about this yesterday and buzz about May the Lord Watch, which is the name of the project. It goes by very quickly, but it's the reunion of Fonte Coleman and rapper Big Pooh. Uh, One of my favorite groups, man, and Fonte Coleman is one of the most. And Drake credits a lot of his success to Fonte Coleman as a rapper and a lyricist, but just to rap down to earth, matter of factly, to address so many day to day situations that people, probably 33 and up find themselves in, or different revelations that you have about the way the world works. Uh, Dude is just phenomenal, man. He has a verse on here. I think the song is "What I Came For." Just pure hip hop, MC, just everything. I told you there was a. Well, I won't go into that. But check it out. Some of the producers include the usual suspects: Crisis, Knots, some cat named Devin Morrison. I'm not that familiar with. Focus, I've heard him before, and Black Milk. I'm familiar with him. A couple of the dope. I've only listened to it a couple of times. Like I said, it came out at 12 last night, and I was working on an article. Actually, I wanted to plug that real quick. Please check me out at bitedownboxing.com. My response to, or just an evaluation or some observations from the LA Times article by Dylan Hernandez, which was buzzing over the weekend. Everybody was so, was clutching their pearls that this dude who I think wrote about baseball or has written about baseball primarily for the LA Times, but with Lance Pugmire moving over to the Athletic to run or handle most of their boxing desk, along with Mike Coppinger and the third cat. I'm not too familiar with him. But with that move, I guess this guy Dylan Hernandez came over to the desk, to the boxing desk, or combat sports at LA Times, and the first articles that I'm aware of was this boxing is dead, and I think because of its own policies, it has its own policies to blame, or own politics to blame. So if you check that out, I dig a little bit deeper, and I'm just asking the question, like, all of these people that were complaining, all of boxing Twitter in particular that was complaining, did you read the very basic grievances that he aired? Or did you just get stuck at the title? Which is part of taking stuff serious. I mean, how seriously do you take some of the stuff on Twitter when people rail about stuff that they didn't even read or don't understand? Which is some of the topics that are covered on May the Lord Watch, if I tie that back in. But some of the tracks that I'm pretty dope, it's pretty hot right off the first or second listen, were Picture This, Black Magic, and What I Came For, as I just mentioned. Check it out. Let me know if you're in the comments if you're a Little Brother fan. No Ninth Wonder on this joint. Maybe a little bit of a disappointment. Like Marlo said, famously in The Wire, you want it to be one way, but it's the other. All the time in life. Every damn week every other day you could almost say that you want it to be one way, but it's the other. No Ninth Wonder inclusion on the album. City on second entertainment note. City on the Hill on Showtime. I don't know if you hung around with this one, but it had its finale this past Sunday night. This stars Kevin Bacon, Aldous Hodge. It's some big names behind the show. And Ben Affleck is an executive producer. Matt Damon as well as an executive producer. And I've struggled with figuring out what the hell is the long-term plot. You know, how does it get to a second season? And this was by far one of the boringest, the most boring crews that I've ever encountered in, you know, watching TV series that revolve around organized crime. It's a small outfit with two brothers who are robbing trucks, armored trucks in the Boston area. And they don't rob a whole lot of trucks. And DeCourcy Ward is the district attorney or assistant district attorney who's trying to solve a case where 3 armored truck guards were killed. And he gets involved with Jackie Rohr, who's played by Kevin Bacon, who is a corrupt FBI agent who pulls a lot of strings in the city to make a lot of stuff happen. But he's an opportunist, but he gets stuff done here and there. And Ward band together to figure out who killed these 3 guards. But Ward has political aspirations in the city. And things fall apart. Anyway, it was dragging along. A lot of the dialogue between various characters in the show wasn't making a lot of sense to me. Nothing was really pulling me in and making me a diehard. But all of a sudden, in the last 2 or 3 episodes, and it happens sometimes, the show really exploded. Some action took place. You started understanding the maneuverings of Jackie Rohr. You kind of started understanding what's going on in the life of DeCourcy Ward a little bit more and what he's fighting for. And then we finally see the crew get taken down as one of the brothers gets flipped and gets flipped and rats on his own brother. And so in the finale, we're seeing how that played out or how that plays out. And then we get right back to the fact that although DeCourcy and Jackie Rohr have worked together, and they've put aside their differences throughout the show, something in court goes extremely wrong for DeCourcy Ward in prosecuting the crew that he finally gets. And he takes a blow to his credibility and his ability. And Jackie kind of set it all in motion. He realized that Jackie has played him. So it looks like there probably will be a season 2 based on the people that I just told you are involved with the show. And it looks like, that could be what's going on, is that Ward and DeCourcy lets Jackie Rohr know that I'm coming for you. One way or another, you got over on me, and I lost this round, but I still accomplished something in addressing a very serious crime that hadn't been solved. But I'm coming for you now for playing me. But like I said, over 2.5 shows, a lot of the dialogue really started sinking in. A lot of the different characters' importance started really coming to the forefront, and I'm like, oh, okay. And it was just more action. So I stuck with it. It may not appeal to everybody. Everybody might not be able to make it through. Talking about a little bit of bite down boxing. I hate to beat a dead horse. And Anthony Joshua, right now is just, what's the new joint that's out? Angel has fallen, and there was London has fallen or something. This brother has really fallen. Being without these titles, not having the leverage to move about with the titles, Not be him and Eddie Hearn not being on the same page in some regards, etc., etc., etc. But the thing that's killing me, the issue right now, the ongoing beef with Lennox Lewis. I'll be honest. I haven't really agreed with all of the Eddie Hearn tells Anthony Joshua what to say along one angle that I hear and see in social media. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. But whereas once upon a time, Anthony Joshua's, a lot of his statements seem to be somewhat well constructed or thoughtful, right now things have really gone awry in his whole presentation. And I'll get to this, just a couple of things. I haven't watched all of the Sky Sports pieces and the JD Sports pieces, but I've seen enough and I've heard enough chatter and reaction to them to where, here's what I have, 3 points. So, actually maybe 2. He admitted very early on, the word was very early on that he didn't remember anything from the middle of the third round on when he was knocked down. He said he didn't remember any of it. Okay. But now he comes back and he has this very vivid recollection of how things played out with the conclusion of the fight, and walks us through the situation of, the fourth and final knockdown and how the referee handled the situation and how he stood there with his arms up on the ropes. And he said that, he was expecting the gum shield to be putting it back in his mouth, and he thought that was the only way he could continue. So he says now that the referee, handled that in horrific fashion. But he said he was, there's nothing he can do about it. It's the referee's job. But he said he's been at this thing he's been fighting a long time, and he's never seen a gum shield handled like that. At first I thought this was somewhat plausible, but then, like I said, I recall that this is kind of like this is damage control, basically. But like I said, at least that was somewhat thoughtful. Although I don't think anybody really wanted to hear it, I get it. But then to come out now and say that this punch from the gods, this lucky punch, that Andy Ruiz is not that skilled, and just comment after comment after comment just really had me scratching my head. And I'm getting ready to sum this up. I think the thing is he now, like I said, he admitted that he was answering too many questions and too focused on the big money fights or the bigger fights with either Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury, and how that led to his not being as focused on fight night. Part of the reason. But now I'm just sitting here like going back into this rematch, if it ever gets fully wrapped up, depending on where you are with that December 7th date and the location. But is he doing himself a disservice by coming out and sounding so scatterbrained? No pun intended. But by just sounding so nonsensical and all over the place and inconsistent. Because now you don't even have, you didn't have the edge anyway because these guys have already shared the ring. But now there could have been some mystery if he would have just been quiet and maybe just waited to the press conferences and said very little, been a lot more stern in the press conferences. But now that you've said all of this stuff, there's no mystery about how Anthony Joshua is going to respond to his first loss. So I thought if he would have played a little bit quieter, a lot quieter, and like I said, just been done just enough at the press conferences, maybe there was some way to a little gamesmanship or to kind of regain a little bit of mental, I don't want to say edge, but get back on equal footing, maybe, possibly. But like I said, now if Andy Ruiz is listening to any of this and paying any of this any attention, like he was in the ring as this was happening, and he has an understanding kind of how Anthony Joshua processes stuff and handles adversity and stress and duress, being under duress. And now here it is again, hearing all of this and being able to take it in. He has to feel a lot better that he can just, it's just going to be a continuation of what he's already accomplished. So that's what I guess all I really have to say with the Anthony Joshua thing. I think it's unfortunate that that he's come out and kind of given away any any advantage he could have hoped to have had. Not like I said, not advantage, but if we were checking boxes, he can. I don't think he can really check how together he is, mentally. It seems like he could come in and possibly. And I don't want to go into my fight prediction or my breakdown of the rematch, how I see it playing out. But again, I just think with the rematch that I'm very interested in seeing being a compelling fight with some different storylines for however long it lasts. This right here is concerning that it could be less interesting, a lot less interesting. So that's it. That's all I really wanted to say, man. Pay me no mind. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Bite down boxing. Don't ever let them count you out. Check out that album, man. May the Lord watch. Peace.